Right.
Okay, that should be recording now.
Yep, I see it.
Hi, my name is Mark. I work here at the St. Charles City County Library. Welcome to my library at home. Our presentation tonight is called Financial Peace, Taking Baby Steps Towards Becoming Debt-Free During COVID-19. Tonight, our speaker is Mr. Frank von Berkham, and we will be recording this session for viewing online here at our website on our calendar for the next 30 days. You might want to turn off your audio or video if you wish, and those controls are at the bottom of your screen. After we finish the session, you'll receive a survey in your email to fill out. And I thank everybody for being here today, and I think Frank's ready to get started.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for that intro. It's a pleasure being here. Pleasure. I'm happy to, grateful that I have the opportunity, and I hope I can help anybody with the information we'll talk through in the coming hour. The presentation from last week, which was really focused on, like more crisis mode, on like when everything is coming at you, what to do first. And that is available if you go into your library's scheduling and you go back into the 23rd of April. You can pick up the Zoom meeting there. You can just start it from there and look at that way. It is actually covered, that is actually covered in the baby steps, almost step 1 and 2. So it's more like I have it more extended, and I'll sort of recap it in this session as well. So for today, I'll have an intro. Then the important I think is the sort of a framework, like what are we talking about, so where does all this information fit. So then we'll roll through some groundwork for the 7 baby steps, and I'll step through each one of them with some do's and don'ts for each, and then recap it, point you or show you some resources, and a Q&A at the end. So the baby steps is just something that has been developed, and I cannot take credit for, by a person called Dave Ramsey. You can just type him in, Dave Ramsey. You find him on daveramsey.com. I found this information very helpful, and the reason is that it provides actually information on what to spend your money on which moment in life. So sometimes you just start like getting overwhelmed because you need to think about retirement and kids' college, and you need to have some emergency funds, and you still have a car to pay off, and then everything becomes quite a bit, and it's actually that is quite a bit of a worry. So those baby steps will actually sort of guide you through that process, which is actually great. What it is also as well is on my left I have my talk track here. So the great thing about the plan is that it's a proven plan. So there's many opinions out there on the internet. You can read many financial blogs. However, these baby steps will just help you think through something quite simple that has been used by millions of people, and call it the proof is in the pudding. It's like where you can see it in the free resources. There are people that on a daily basis having a debt-free screen because they went through these steps and are extremely happy that they don't have that worry anymore. So from an expectation settings, this is not an investment course at all. I'm not going to talk about small caps, large caps, Bitcoin, none of that. That only would add to the confusion. So we'll leave that be. That belongs actually, that kind of thinking belongs in step number 4. So we'll get there, but I won't even touch on like what to invest in. That it's just invest in retirement. The part of this process is actually hard work. It's almost like losing weight, because like on the moment you start focusing on where you're spending every dollar, you just really truly have to make some time for that. Sit down, look at it, and then if in case you're married, sit down with your partner and say, okay, wow, this is quite a bit what we have here. And so you both have to sort of tag team on like, how are you going to tackle everything you want to move forward as it relates to the baby steps. The other thing is that sort of the result is when you get to almost like say step 4 and 5, it's like you will have lifelong, results and pleasure already from it. And then you're not even done yet. So it's like once you hit the end of step 2, it's time for a celebration, because you did a lot of hard work. And so that's cool stuff. That's why I will recap that piece a bit more later on, like, well, call it shortly. From like what are my credentials? So my background is really computers, computer networks. My passion is personal finance. So I've never been necessarily the best person with money. That I made some major mistakes myself. Invest in single stocks, lost a lot of money there. Put a motorcycle on a home equity line of credit with that interest increasing. There's things that one does, and it's understood we all make mistakes. So in 2016, I was looking around, I'm like, I'm a bit like a hamster on a wheel. I'm trying to do everything. I feel like I'm not making progress. And so I ran into Dave Ramsey's podcast, and I started listening to it. Then I bought his book used, because I started to realize I'm spending too much money, or actually we as a family. And so after reading that book, like we as a family, we really dug in. We created a budget, labeled every dollar, and then just started to work. In our case, because like we have all the cars that are paid off, and so we actually started working on baby step number 3, and you will see what that means. And before we get to the very end, still another thanks for the library, Mark, Greg, Lori, or Laura, just for the library to have me and host me here. Fantastic. Also our essential and frontline workers. Again, we're in a crisis here. There are people out there that go to work every day and keep us safe and healthy, or our store stocked, and it's just amazing. So thank you. I hope this information also helps you going forward, that if we're in another crisis like this, that you are hopefully better financially prepared and have less worry, at least about finances. To start with the basic framework, and I did this last week as well, but it's an important one to keep in mind, and it's just the way of thinking. And so I have 2 types of income here. So on the bottom side, I will start with sort of what an income or a spending pattern would look like if you would ask your grandmother, like, how would you do it? Because this is ancient knowledge. This is nothing new. So separated in 4. In the left bottom corner is what we have is like, it's your roof, it's your shelter. It may be your mortgage, it may be your rent, but it can only be actually 25% of your take-home pay. And so right now, you can already start thinking to yourself, oh, I have a $4,000 income, my rent shouldn't be, or my mortgage should be more than $1,000. Then you look at your mortgage statement and you're actually paying $1,800. And you're like, this is going to get interesting, because like, how does it relate to this? And this is actually, this income is your take-home income. Same here, take-home. So on the top side, I'm going to actually show like what happens in normal life. This happens to everybody. So 25% is actually, so 25% here should be your operational cost. So, and I'm not the best writer, but we're talking it through, right? So groceries, you have like utilities, and then if you have things in there like a car loan, it actually should fit in there too. So, it really gets interesting this way. So then the 3rd quarter is actually for, this is like your, call it your investment. So this 3rd quarter, what it should look like is, here's where you have your, say, your 401k, or you have like whichever other means you have to invest in the future, and you also like have like your kids college savings in here. So this is sort of already an extra in your, and I'll show you why that is an extra. And here, this is actually could be the fun part, and you're like, oh wow, fun as a budgeted item here. However, You can do three things with money. One is spend, two is give, and three is save. And so spend could be the fun part. You can go your whole life by trying to pinch every penny and not have fun with it. That is also not a great way to go, because then you're just always like in the save and you're always grumpy about it. You need to have some fun. So here, with this example, this fun actually could also be more investing. The reason I say this is that, say, if you realize, like myself later in life, that you actually are, your nest egg is not big enough, is that you actually need these resources to actually start building that nest egg. So picture this is, so this is written out. So now, what happens in normal life? So say you come out of college, you get your first job, and then you get a promotion, you're feeling pretty groovy. And so you actually like thinking ahead, you're thinking about like building a family, and then there's the house you always wanted with 4 bedrooms, and it's got a 3-car garage. It's a little bit out of town, but you will do the commute. And so what happens is like, you will actually make it sort of like 40% of your square here. And then I'll make that bigger because like you both want nice cars, you have nice cars. And this is still operational ops. And this is your roof. So this is roof operational. Nice cars, you have nice cars, and then utilities and everything else. So you have this. So then it already becomes hard to say. This is where the sort of the hamster on the wheel moment comes from, because you only have these slices left to actually look at a 529 or a 401k. That's when you start thinking about, I'm not putting enough in retirement, what's happening? And so then actually this piece might be taken up by vacations, because like that credit card keeps going and gives you points, and that's all great. However, it's not helping you. And this is when everything's going great, it's going great. When it's not going great, for instance, if this is like a 2-income family, when it happens to them, they still have enough money for the roof, and they still have money for operational expense, and they're good to go. So they actually can just say, okay, I lost my job. They take a breather, they're not worried. They can take a little bit of time if they have a bit of financial buffer, and they can just look for the right job instead of grabbing any job. The people here, and I don't even have to wipe this out. So this piece, I'll make it an oval. All that still needs to be paid off. You can see that the bank is in there too, and the car loans. So some people think that foreclosure is an automatic process and you would just roll out of it. What happens is the bank takes your house, sells it, and whatever is the difference between what you owe the bank and what the bank gets for selling it, for whatever price they get for it, they will sue you for. Same with the cars. If you have car loans, they will come pick up the cars. There's no magic there. They will resell it and they will sue you for the difference. So suddenly, if you lose a job and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're feeling rich, but you're not rich. You look rich, but you're not rich. You're in a world of trouble. So this whole presentation is about how about we don't get into this situation. And if you're in this situation, how can you dial back using the baby steps and then get into a situation where you have every dollar labeled in a proper way that you will have less worry about money as you go. So encourage you to, and I had the chat up here. Let's see, where did I leave the chat? There's the chat. Okay, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and we'll pick them up later on. And during the Q&A, you can also, if you feel comfortable, you can actually just open up your mic and ask any questions. And if there's really a question you can't wait with, please unmute and just chime in, and I'm happy to touch base on it. So the one note I had in here, in terms of like what we're going to talk through, it needs to be, if you are by yourself, then you can make all these decisions by yourself. If you're in a family or in a unit, if you're with 2 people taking care of 1 budget, 2 incomes, you both need to be on the same page. If one of the persons doesn't agree with how the baby steps work and they do their own thing, there will be a lot of frustration, and it's almost like a boat where you're trying to plug holes and then the other person is drilling holes on the back end. So that's not a good thing. So actually there's a statistic out there that the number one reason for divorce is actually financial reasons. So for people that are, say, watching this and they're just starting out, this is a great way of actually talking to your spouse and say, hey, I want to get on the same page with you financially, because like then we're going in the same direction and we care about the same things, so that that doesn't become an issue anymore either, and which is a wonderful thing just all by itself, because like then you can focus on happiness versus focusing on bickering about like, well, you spend too much and then define too much. Because if you don't define anything, there's nothing to really complain about. So I have a note on here about groundwork. So the groundwork is, actually I'll flip over. I have the baby steps here on the other side. The groundwork is really like, start, just sit down and prepare for step one. Just sell your television, because you'll be spending some time actually looking at where is our money going? Like, what are we all spending it on? And so when you start listing those, you're ready to start with step number one. It is $1,000 mini emergency fund. So the reason for having that is almost like, like when you see a big truck that say like a big pickup truck, and you have like this big bumper in front. It is made for like when there's an unseen event, they bump into something, it doesn't hurt the car. And this is the same as like you're going to strap a big bumper in front of your financial vessel, and if there's an issue, you use a piece of that $1,000 and take care of it. So then otherwise you're always stressing about little things that sort of feel like that will keep you from making progress. So have that $1,000. $1,000 don't appear overnight. So that's why I have a note here: sell everything. And I'll get to, actually I'll use it for the second step, some ideas on like, and that's for my last presentation, some ideas on like what you can do to actually two things with income. One, or like you can hold more in your pocket if you reduce your costs, or you can increase your income. Ideally, you do both. Reduce costs, increase income, and therefore you have more cash flow to take care of things. So sell everything can be yard sale, can be Craigslist, can be eBay. Just start selling things, start organizing everything, and to go through your garage. If you have bicycles that you're not using, sell your bicycles. And you might be selling it for a price you absolutely don't like, but you do need that $1,000 in place to start working away out your baby steps. There's no if or but about it. You need that, not more than 1,000. So some people go overboard. They have 3, 4, 5. They say like, well, I'm worried about X, Y, Z. Stop at 1,000. Go into step two. One moment. Thank you. So example of the $1,000 is like your car has an unexpected, your tire is, empties out on the highway, and so it costs you $500 to replace. So then you have that $1,000, you spent the $500 to fix the tire, and then you build $1,000 back up. So you have to sell more things, and then you step into, and then you go on. So then you need to, and then you keep going with step number two. So step number two is pay off all debt except for the house. So don't include a house. Don't, if you have a home equity line of credit, leave that in there as well. So leave that out of step two, unless it's really small and you might include it. But in general, just leave that out as well, because that's the collateral is your home. So pay off all debt except for your house. Now, part of this, like I went into it deeper, but I'll touch on it just shortly here, is the snowball effect. And how that works is like, you need to list your debt smallest to largest. Some people argue like, well, you need to pay off the one with the highest interest percentage first. From a mathematical perspective, makes total sense. From a psychological perspective, start with the smallest and keep paying off the one after and after. The reason is the moment you get one down, you feel good. The moment you get to the next one, you feel even better. If you have the biggest one with the highest interest percentage, if you look at it in the long run, it doesn't really necessarily matter in terms of the money on like how you did it. And you're still psychologically encouraged to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. So the principal and the interest you're not paying on the smallest will add it to the money you have scrolled away for saving, for the cost savings and for the income increase. And then you attack the larger one, and then when you finish that one, you add to it, and then you have a bigger snowball, and you start throwing that at the next one. And when that one disappears, then you have a really bigger one, and then on that moment there's only a big one left, so you have to keep throwing at that. And so that whole process should take about 2 years. So all your decision making should be within a 2-year period, because like this is a grind. It really is. So it might be a long period of no fun, not eating out. You won't see the inside of a restaurant unless you work there as a side job. It's like you will have to roll your sleeves up and get to work here. However, you will arrive then at baby step number 3. So before we go there, there's offense and defense you can play with money. So the offense is fitting with step number 2, and the reason is that you actually take instant action to attack your debt. The defense piece is like, in case of something unforeseen, I have this in place. So let me just scroll down here. I have it just easily listed. The nice thing about a recording is that you can actually view it, pause it, and then you can write this down. So I called it putting on the brakes. So let me share that here and hit share. So putting on the brakes is truly like, so you're sick and tired of being sick and tired about worrying about money. The next thing you do is you have to look in the mirror, and you have to work with that person looking at you and say, hey, we're going to make a big change here. So I listed here a strategic and some more tactical steps. So from a strategic perspective, there's a good chance credit cards got you into trouble. Cut them all up. Forget about the perks and the miles and everything else connected to them. Cut them all up and switch to debit cards and switch to pure cash and start with your budget. If you're truly in an emergency, I listed the 5 core payments here. It's food, shelter, transportation, clothing, and utilities. The reason it is that way is like, you need to eat, you need to have a roof over your head. If you don't pay for your shelter, like your landlord, if you're renting, they will find different renters. They will kick you out. If you don't pay the bank, if you don't pay the mortgage will take your house. You need transportation because you need to get to a job to make money. You need clothing to look presentable, and you need to pay the utilities, because don't play a game of like, well, maybe I won't pay for a few months and then maybe they will not cut me off. You will still need to pay those bills down the line. So keep your house warm, car running, be well clothed, have a roof over your head, and feed yourself. Pay minimum on the rest, which means like if you have credit card debt, look what the minimum payments are and just pay the minimum, and then just start working on step 2. So you just have to go through your snowball, and then that credit card debt is somewhere in that snowball list, and then you will start attacking it at that point. And then for other debts, you have maybe medical debt. Pick up the phone, talk to the company that has the debt. You say like, hey, I'm in dire straits. Can we have a payment plan? Can we have postponed for 6 months? Can we just find a way to push it out, pay the minimum? If you're still contributing, I'll leave it up for the video. If you still contribute to a 401k, 403b, whatever retirement, and I hear you, sometimes you get matched, that's maybe thousands of dollars maybe. You need to stop doing that. That fits in baby step number 4. So don't do it in 1, don't do it in 2, don't do it in 3, do it in 4. And the reason is you need to free up the money to attack the debt, including the 5 to 9 college savings. Your child will be just fine with less money for their college, or maybe no college at all. Things are changing anyway. your debt, your financial health, and your retirement are more important than the college your kid is going to attend to, or their future income potential. That might just be on them at some point, just to shoulder and move forward. So stop 5 to 9, any college savings. And if you enjoy a large tax refund on an annual basis, then what you should do is adjust your dependence, because like you're giving money to Uncle Sam that you actually need right now to that you need right now to pay off debt. So then you need to adjust like what your taxes would be. So talk to a tax professional, divide it by 12, and then look at, say, as like how many dependents do I need, and then adjust it accordingly. So that's on a strategic level. So more tactical, stop keeping up with the Joneses. I mentioned it before. There's a free app out there. It's called Every Dollar. You can download it. You can use it as a family. You can all be on the same page, and you can instantly start a budget. So do it right now, download it, start a budget. Some people are not good with like an electronic, say, budget, like allocating money electronically. Sort of like you have like $2,000 in checking, and 500 is for this and 400 is for that. And people keep overspending. Grab a whole bunch of envelopes. Write down what your monthly budget is for groceries. Put the money in there, and when the end of the envelope money is reached, that's the end of your eating. You will have to eat whatever else is in the pantry for the rest of the month. So that's a great way for people to truly have a hard stop. Make a list of all the items that you want to track, because it's interesting to see like what, say, your daily coffee ends up being like $1,500 a year. Cancel any and all subscriptions, Netflix, Prime, whatever else. If you have to double AAA for car assistance, look in your insurance package for your car. It might be in there. Cancel AAA. Nothing wrong with AAA. Lovely company, do great job. I've enjoyed the services for a long time, and not for a while. Lower your insurance costs, get quotes, get your deductibles up for a while so that you have to pay less insurance. And I'm going pretty fast here because let's see, we're at the half-hour mark. I don't necessarily want to sit in step 2, but it is very important, because for a lot of people, they need, one, the information to how to tackle the debt, and then 2, call it the tools on like how to get through step 2 to step 3. And actually, this counts for step 3 as well, because just the highlight, and it's already behind me. Step 3 is about a 6-month emergency fund. And the way you gather money is the same. You pay off debt. So while you have to pedal on the gas, and then the pedal on the gas is right here, then you might as well keep going and get that 6-month emergency fund in place. Now, back to some more little tactical things. So student loan deferment. So like call your student loan provider and say, hey, can I not pay? So your interest will keep accruing. So, pay it off down the line. Utilities, set that to budget billing, because then you have one line item in your budget versus like something that fluctuates between $100 and $400. That's really hard to budget for. Don't give anybody any gifts. Be creative. Write them a card. It's hard, kids parties. You will find a way. Eat rice and beans if you have to. There's actually people that I heard on debt-free screens that actually ate rice and beans for 3 months. So they didn't die. They got their goal done. So if that's what you need to do, sell your car and get an old car. So with cars, anything with a motor, may it be a tractor, you have a boat, you have a car, a motorcycle, anything with a motor cannot be more than half your annual take-home pay. So say if your car is like more than 50% of your income, that is actually a burden. You're car poor. That's already an indication that you actually should sell it. So if it's a lease car, leasing is the most expensive way of financing a car. So you need to find a way to get out of that as well. If you're really at the end, you might just think about like keeping it. However, if you're more at the beginning, just get rid of that lease. Some people refer to it as a fleece. And then last not least, do not touch your retirement accounts. Don't. Only if you're in a foreclosure or in bankruptcy, then you can touch those. But outside of that, just find ways to not touch those, because like it's money you build up, your money you will not build up in a while. So that's money that you actually need in the future that you already built up. So don't touch them. They come with a penalty. So picture this: you go into your pre-tax retirement savings and you take money out. You have to pay taxes on them, say 25%, and on top of that, you need to pay a 10% penalty. I'm talking about outside of current measures to help people, but normally you would pay basically a 35% tax on that money. So you're paying 35% taxes on money you're trying to get to you, while if you pay off the debt, like the debt would be at and you would actually, the moment you pay off debt, you will actually increase your money. So keep focused on paying off that debt. Now, I talked about hitting the brake. Now, stepping on the gas. So that's selling everything inside. So that's back to your income, right? You can increase it and lower your costs, and suddenly you have more cash flow. So add a second job. Might not necessarily align with your career perspective, but if you can make $20, $25 an hour delivering pizzas or driving Uber, that is all additional money. And it all adds up month over month over month, because some of these goals of paying off debt are like maybe 9 months, you maybe a large debt. And it takes so long, it feels like it will never, ever come. So any additional dollar helps there. And look at your job, as in, like, if you're comfortable in your job, but actually say you have a master's or PhD, or you're not getting the full potential of your degree and your knowledge and your experience, and you're like, well, I'm comfortable. Well, stretch yourself, find a job. You might have to travel, you might have to go customer facing, you might have to do something different to increase your pay, and that might make a big difference. Your kids might see you less, or your significant other might see you less. It is all worth it. It's going to last a year or 2 years, and then you can switch things around again. From an offense perspective, so little touch on insurance. So insurance fits in all of these steps. So I listed one on top. The one on top I listed is like, if your family depends on your income, you need to have term life insurance. And I'm a volunteer. I just my goal is to set up classes, 9-week classes. And what we're doing here right now, what I'm talking through, is a 9-week class of 90 minutes each. And that's all in a single hour. So what I'm doing is trying to help people think through the way they spend and save money. So and so I don't sell insurance. And there's enough term life insurance brokers out there. So you can find those, or you go to daveramsey.com and you click on the insurance advisor, and then they vet people. And so maybe that's of comfort to you. But you need to have it in place, because if you perish, like I read about a famous motocross guy, and he's 63 and he flipped over with his dune buggy and he died. So if he still had kids later in life, somebody's depending on his income. And so prepare for the unexpected. It needs to be 10 times your income. Maybe you can get it through your employer and then add something else somewhere else. But make sure that people are left off well, and then take into account that your income also provides for, say, future college savings, or you can decide, well, it's not for college, so that 10 times is just for the house can be paid off, this and that and the other thing. And so student loans, whatever. Although if you die, your student loans go with you. Anyway, you get what I mean. In capitals, I said no whole life or universal life. These are combinations of term life and insurance packages, or investment packages. So don't mix investing and insurance. Get investment later in step 4 all by itself. Get insurance all by itself. So because anyway, that's just my note. Don't mix them. Connect with financial advisors. You can have free conversations with them. Interview more than one. You'll get smarter. Will cost you nothing. And then maybe you'll find someone that you want to use down the line, or they can have you help with another session to straighten a couple of things out. So that's important. And then look for these insurances. These are essential to sort of like, again, prepare for the unexpected. Note here, long-term care insurance only for when you're 60 and older. there's actually a very small chance before age 67 that you actually end up needing long-term care, and it only could last for 2 or 3 years. So by that time in life, you might self-insure if you're in a really good spot, or just pay it when you're 60, and then you just at that point you just pay whatever is the market rate, and then but no need to do it sooner. Even though the insurance person might say, well, if you do it now, it's cheaper. In the long run, you will pay more. And then from an identity theft perspective, it is on here as playing a defense. You can bundle it in with other insurances if you have to pay extra. You can right now, you just find how to freeze your credit. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. Nobody can get loans out of your name, your identity, and at the same time, it will sort of hold you back from getting more credit cards or whatever else you have. So, freeze your credit, and then when you're in a better shape, maybe pay more for identity insurance. So I'll stop the share of my document. I'll flip back to step number 3. So step 1, $1,000. Step 2, snowball. Smallest to largest, pay them off. You get to step 3. Use that same. You have to pedal to the gas. You're going hard. You're budgeting. You're saving. You're doing all the right things. 3 months. If you have 2 incomes, 3 months should be fine. So you could jump to step 4. But if it makes you more feel comfortable, there's nothing wrong with 6 months. Because what happens if you lose your job? If you have 6 months like in cash, sitting in the bank, you can just take your time, look for the right job, and look around, ask your network, and get the right job instead of like grabbing any job. One more thing on this, the cash needs to be liquid. If you put it in a CD or if you put it in some investing, you're still looking at the possibilities of like stocks that are going lower while you need that money, or you need to pay 15% of long-term investing, or even the short-term when you need the money. So it needs to be in cash. So this the only way to go about this part. I have a 3B there, and that's like, well, if you have 7 steps, why is that not 4? And because like throughout the years of developing this method, 3B has gotten into place for people that want to buy a house that don't have a house yet. Because this can be used by people that have a house but are in trouble or want to straighten out their finances. 3B is like you want to save up for a down payment for a house. So when you have this 3 in place, go for 3B and start stacking up as much cash as you can for your down payment. And ideally, sounds crazy, everything. So you pay for a whole house in cash, and it will be amazing what you can do in the next steps. It's rarely done, but why not? Why not live like no one else, that later you can live like nobody else? So jumping to step 4. So you like, we already have the house taken care of, at least a 20% down payment, maybe 50%, and put you really in a good position as a buyer too. 15% of your income. So that is for retirement. No more, no less. Those people that want to do more, it's like, don't do more. Well, unless you don't have any kids and your house is paid off, then you can do more. 15%, no more, no less. And so, and this is outside of, like, if you have a 401k and you have a match, the match does not count. So 15% outside of any perks you have for investing. And there's a ton out there. I don't know them all. I need to get back to my quick overview here on the quick notes I have. So then the 15%, you just jump then to kids' college, and then whatever else is left, then you pay off your house. So you can do these simultaneously. So that is actually nice, because you stick with 15%, and then you go for the 5 to 9 or the whatever college savings you want to do. And then the spillover money from that, you can start paying down the house. So with the kids' college, so don't go crazy. Just use in-state education. It's great. It will work fine. The kids will do great. And you could even go so far as like just save for the tuition for the 4 years, and that's it. And that your kid just work its way through college. And no, don't take out a student loan and don't co-sign for that loan. It's not your loan, it's their future. So go to college debt free so you can help your kids, but don't go overboard. In the end, if you put like 500,000 in there and your kid decides to start its own company and become, you know, a dot-com millionaire, which is an old term, sorry. What happens is like you have all the money sitting there in an account that is barely generating any return. And when you take it out for a non-educational purpose, you need to pay 10% in penalty on what you have gained in that account. So you still have the money you put in, just what you have gained, you need to pay some money on. So not the best investment vehicle. So it's just to help your kids. So don't go overboard. So then when you have that taken care of, maybe you just do 16,000 a year for the 5 to 9, and then you just go for paying off the house. So, oh, well, I had one example in here, which is true, that even though you can think like the debt, student debt is okay because like the income potential is there, etc. I've met people that have a master, like they have an MBA and they make $40,000 a year and they still have $100,000 in student loans. One of the visitors at the debt-free screams, he actually studied to become a pilot. He had like a master's in avionics, or like the moment he was done studying for becoming a pilot, and he had all the hours in, etc., etc. And so this was his dream. He racked up a lot of debt and he had a seizure, and that was the end of it. Such a moving story. So he had all this debt and he had no real good job to pay for that debt. So his story really struck with me. It's like there is no golden track. If you study to become a dentist and you go into debt for like $250,000, and you have an accident and you have something with your wrist, you cannot become a dentist and you have all the debt. So think about it wisely, and if that is a track, find the cash to pay for it. So go to college debt free. So that is that on that. So 6 is really easy. Pay off your mortgage. It's wonderful. Like every time you do a payment to the principal, look at your paperwork. It might only be allowed twice a month. If you do it more often, they might give you a penalty. So then, you know, there's less return on your money there. So when you're done paying off your house, then you get to step 7, which is you will live and give like nobody else. Because at that point, you're financially mature. You know what to do offensively or defensively and offensively. You know you have to live within your means. You always will remember, and I can go back to our overview here. You know what these squares will do for you. And there's a lot of people actually that cannot get out of this habit. They will keep, they're millionaires. They keep driving old cars. It's the millionaire next door. They might be living next to you right now. They don't buy a new car. Only millionaires should buy new cars, really, because like you lose value like 30% when you drive them off the lot. That's the most crazy expensive investment ever. Well, negative investment. So, you know, they keep living this way because they have gotten to such a habit. And what these people do is actually they give a lot. So they go like really into a mode of like, you know, supporting causes they believe in, and they live a simple life while being millionaires. So those are the baby steps. So we went from, well, they're on the other side, but I can just name them. You can be that person. You start with $1,000, go through the snowball, go for a 6 month buffer, and then you go for your retirement. You help your kids, and then you pay off your home. And then at that point, you can do whatever you want. But make sure to you need to have, you can give money, you can spend money, and you can have fun with it. So don't forget that fun piece. So time for a Q&A. We have 11 minutes left, so not that much time, but hopefully I can answer some questions, or somebody wants to drop something in the chat. Let's see the chat. There it is. Ah, very good. Yeah, so And a question is like, many people live like week to week, and so why then why pay off debt first rather than save for the emergency fund? So that is always the tough part, and I hear you. That's why on the step one with the $1,000, you have to be so intense on selling everything in sight. It's you are already doing the same thing, trying to keep your head above water, but then the $1,000 you need to obtain that by selling everything in sight, and it might be things you hold dearly, and your kids might be afraid that you're going to sell the dog next, or like the furniture. It's like the sofa goes out the door for $50, but if you're trying to get that $1,000 together, you just go mow the lawn for neighbors, or like offer your services to somebody it's like, hey, needs like can I help you for a couple hours a weekend, or find a way to get that $1,000 in place and then start attacking that debt. So it is tough. It is tough. So, and yes, yep, coupons help. Could you call it cool? Credit rated with no loans. Wow, applause. Very nice. Very nice. Very cool. Yes, it's and again, I've not been the best financial manager of like like within my family, and just a realization like 4 years ago on like what is it that I'm doing has helped me greatly, and will, I strongly feel, help me going forward. So, but it's there. I've heard many stories online, of course, or in the podcast of people like a lady that had $35,000 in debt, but she also had a $30,000 debt, or it was more, and she lived truly on nothing. She had like a grocery budget of like $35 like 1 month. Like, I have no idea how she did it. So these people are just so excited. Yes, Groupon is good. Like if you want to have something fun and you have the money, that's more like when you get into like step 4 or 5, then there's some more room, because like the thing with the most intense piece is 1, 2, and possibly 3. Those are the most intense ones, because that's when you're really like, you're going fast and hard and you're intense, and you truly go after every dollar. After that, it's actually good to step off the gas a little bit, because otherwise you will drive everybody around you crazy. Then because then the question will be, well, when is the time for fun, or when is the time to enjoy life? So yeah, indeed. Yeah, the library has fantastic resources, by the way. Good comments here, because all the emails I get, so those are great emails the library has on a weekly basis, where they show like the resources available. It includes compute resources. It includes, helping with internet. It includes like all kinds of overviews. So, you can watch YouTube, but you can also go to your local library and see how things can help you out, like right then and there, and get your inspiration there. And, it doesn't cost you a thing. So, even if you need a quiet moment to look at your budget and go through whatever it is, like your house is crazy, kids, dogs, neighbors, family visiting, you're like, I'm out of here. Because like with budgeting, there's always this, like if you're with 2, like one is truly a nerd, they look at every detail, and the other one is like more like yeah, I get it, but I'm not that good with looking at all the details. So one person presents the budget, then you talk it through, you agree on it, and then you go forward. It's not the same as like the nerd will do what they want, because life might get really boring because they want to pinch every penny. So you need to get to an agreement on like, how are we still going to have some fun with money and still like be smart with it. So but again, for the library, like use as a quiet spot, resources, etc. So yes. Let's see, emergency will cost me more than 1,000. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, indeed, yeah, that $1,000 just a slim buffer, and there are bigger picture items out there, and those might set you back, but at least you got that $1,000, right? So, and then once that is gone, then you still need to. So that in addition to the $1,000, you still need to look at the stepping on the brakes, which is decreasing your cost, which might mean like maybe you need to move, which is expensive all by itself. That's a tough one, but like decreasing the cost and increasing your income. So in that way, with the $1,000 you get magically from selling a whole bunch of stuff, it's not magically, it's a lot of work, then you should be able to have a buffer for the hits that are larger than $1,000. So, but yeah, I hear you on the $1,000 might not be enough. Yep. Let's see. Yes, interest. Yeah, interest on your home is high. The credit card is high interest that pays it off first. Yeah, yeah. So the interest rate one, that is a very common one, because like when you look at, say, your student loans, and on the moment you start working and you say you have a $100,000 debt, student loan debt, then you have to pay $7,000 a year in interest all by itself, right? And that's not even paying for the principal. And the 100,000 might be actually your largest debt. So to put that all the way at the bottom and still look at $7,000 in debt, all by itself, the $7,000 in interest to pay, that's a tough one to chew on. Hopefully that makes you more intense. It's actually it's a saying, like it's called gazelle intense. You become so intense that you feel like it's like the cheetah of debt. Well, you feel it running after you, and so like a gazelle, you get out of the way. So you get so intense that you do attack that smallest one first and use that snowball, because the mental, the psychological effect is greater than the pain of that $7,000 in interest you were going to pay anyway. So at least you're doing something. You are getting $1,000 in place. You're becoming gazelle intense. You're creating a budget, and then you attack your first debt, and that might be 2% a year, whatever it is, but you're doing it. And I think the power of feeling empowered and doing things is more important, has a bigger effect than becoming mathematically intense and then focus on something really large, while there will be no victory on the horizon for 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. So, go for the smallest ones, and then, you just, as a team, just keep attacking it. Or if you're by yourself, just feel that gazelle intensity and go after it. Let's see. I think we touched on most of these, and some of your comments they're quite common. And so, but back to my comment in the beginning is that it's a proven program that has helped millions of people. And so, stick with the program. It has worked for a lot of people. There's a lot of free resources out there. Watch those YouTubes with debt-free screams. They're super inspiring. Like what people have gone through to actually pay off the debt is amazing. It's stuff you just don't normally hear from friends or family, but there's a lot of resources out there, all for free. My suggestion is, let me see, actually. The books, yes, duh. I meant to actually show this book. This is the book I read. It's the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. So that's the recommendation I would have. And I buy a whole bunch of these and give them away for people that are interested in this program. So I actually looked up online for the library how many there were available, and actually I'd be happy to donate like 6 books or 10 books to the library system here in St. Charles City. And so in that way, provide more access to this book to people, because it's a fun read too. So in addition to like it basically everything I just said is in here, but this book actually it's a fun read, and there's more thinking behind all the choices for the baby steps. So that would be the book I would recommend reading from and then getting from the library. What did I? Oh, and then of course I was going to share the resources, and these are all free. So still have 30 seconds left, so you can see this on your screen and you can pause it. So daveramsey.com, you can see him on YouTube, live streaming, podcast, radio, Financial Peace University. You can have that for, it's actually 110, something like that, with the materials and a course and a class and a volunteer like me. But you can now do it 14 days for free online. So that's all the content. So, oh, what's new for, oh, wow, and a copy from 2007. Wow, fantastic. I think it's the same stuff, but that's when he started out. Like the man built this all, his company is completely debt free. He has got like almost like 900 people working for him. So it's just, it's probably similar as 2007. I think you're good to go with your 2007 book version. Let's see. And there's other Dave Ramsey personalities that can help you with other things. Ken Coleman is a great resource because he's focused on career, where your passion is for your career, resume guides, looking at things differently. So he's a very positive guy. There's Chris Hogan, who can help you focus on retirement. You know, like retire, inspire is his thing. And there's all the personalities. So all people, all very positive, great positive energy. They have events. So if you're looking for positive events or something to share with significant other, to go find one of those events when we're all done with the COVID crisis, you know, go to one of those events for like some inspiration. So we're at time. Super enjoyed. It's great to get these questions. I think, Mark, you want to take it from here, or shall I just end the recording?
Oh, you've done a great job, and you really helped a lot of people out. And like we were saying, this recording will be available. And we want, the library really wants to thank you for the hard work you put out.
Yes. Well, happy to do so and happy to do it again. So if I can help one person, that would already be fantastic. So, let's do it again some other day.
Thank you, Frank.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Great help.
Thank you, Frank and Mark. It was great.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.